Welcome to the Educating Kids and Connecting Families podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to provide your family with encouragement, inspiration, and connection. I'll equip you with resources and expert advice to help you effectively educate your kids in a fun and meaningful way. If you value education, quality family moments, and community, you're in the right spot. We'll discuss all things parenthood, education, homeschool, ways to balance it all, and so much more. Join us each week as we empower you to raise kind, confident, and independent kids while building community and connection. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 38 of Educating Kids and Connecting Families. I'm your host, Christine Furman, and I just want to give you a quick little brief intro to who I am. I'm a homeschool mom. I'm an educator with over 20 years of experience in elementary education, and I have a master's degree in special education. And I just want to share with you, that's just a fancy way to say that I have taught and created curriculum to children of all ages and abilities. And it's truly been my honor to meet not only my children that I teach, but also the families that I impact and meet them right where they are. And that is truly a special gift that I don't take lightly. I love to get connected with families and get to know their kids, get to know their situation, and say, how can I help you? How can I support you? And being able to come up with a plan to be able to support their needs, meeting them right where they are. I truly believe everyone, every child, every situation is uniquely perfect in many different ways. And I have had the opportunity lately to be able to connect with a lot of families, especially right now in the Georgia area, looking to homeschool. So if you haven't heard, there was a shooting incident in a local high school in Georgia, and it was actually about an hour and a half away from where I am. So still kind of far, but close. And this is happening more and more. Situations like this are happening all over, and it's scary. It is definitely something that as an educator, you don't want to have to experience. As a parent, you don't want to have to go through these emotions. As a child dealing with this situation, as a parent of a loved one that may have lost someone or a friend or a family, like number one, my heart goes out to every single person that has ever been impacted by a situation like this, any hard situation. But specifically speaking, right now, we're talking about shootings in school. And a lot of people, since this situation has happened, have said, you know what, this has been the final straw for me. I have been thinking about homeschooling. And with these situations happening more frequently, it is now time for me to really consider the option of homeschooling and what does that look like for my family. So I had the honor to be able to do an impromptu live video and share with families, specifically Georgia right now, how can you get started homeschooling? What are the steps? And I have to say, if this has been on your heart, if homeschooling has genuinely been on your heart, how can I help you get started? Because there are ups and there are downs. It is a hard thing. It can be a difficult thing to do, homeschooling our kids. We are with them all the time. Could be a good thing, could be a challenging thing. We are responsible for their education. Again, could be a great thing, could be a challenging thing. But if you're linking up with the right people, if you're following the right steps, if your heart is in the right place, if you have a community behind you, if you have support, then you're in the right space because it is truly the biggest blessing. It has been the biggest blessing in my life. It has been such an honor to see my kids learn and grow. It has been a blessing to see our family become closer. and just continue to be united and know that what I'm teaching them, what I'm learning, I am instilling those values and those morals into them. I am ensuring that they're interacting with families and children of all ages and abilities. And ultimately, my biggest hope, prayer is that I can give them the best education possible. And that's what I continue to strive to do. So, with this all being said, I know that there are a lot of people out there considering it, trying to figure it out. So, I want to share if homeschooling is on your heart, I have 5 steps that you need to do to get started homeschooling. So, this episode here is going to be pretty simple because this is a very basic general outline for getting yourself started in homeschool. So, the biggest thing I want to just share is that every state is different. So, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about these 5 steps, but I want to share a little personal story of my own. So, we started really talking about the intruder drills, right? The shootings that are happening in schools. Well, many of you know that I was an educator in a public school and I had to prepare for these drills. I had to prepare myself, my students. And to be honest, when I didn't have kids, before I had my children, I prepared for them. I made sure that my children that were in my classroom were totally taken care of. I had paraprofessionals at that time. I had multiple adults that were working together as a team because I was in the life skills classroom. I had children of all abilities in that classroom, and I had to protect them. And that was my job. And I would do whatever I had to do to protect these children. And so I did it. I got the training. We learned what to do, right? In case of an emergency, in case of an intruder coming into our building, what would we do? When it really hit me was when I taught second grade and I had 2 babies at home. At this point, my kids were now at home. I had a toddler and an infant, and I was teaching second grade. And it hit me a little bit more because before I was teaching middle school and I didn't have kids, or I had a baby at that point, and I still had a couple years if they were going to school or, to be in this situation. Well, as I was preparing my second graders, it just all hit me. And it was like, whoa, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect these kids right here. These students of mine in my classroom, that is my job. I'm protecting them. But what about my babies at home? What about when they come to school? Do I want them to experience this? It's terrifying. To be honest, it's terrifying. And I actually just had a guest on the show a couple episodes ago. Her son was in a preschool program and they had to practice these intruder drills. Now, I understand the importance of them, but also how terrifying they are. And like I said before, no one wants to be on any side of this at all. Preparing for them, having to do them, having to practice them, the children having to know what to do, the parents just concerned to begin with, and then just experiencing the whole thing. So it is really a hard thing to experience, and that's just drills. I couldn't even imagine having to do that for an actual intruder. And how those families, how those educators, how those students are feeling, how they're managing. So, my biggest sympathy goes out to all of the families. That is number one here. But ultimately, here, it's just to share with you I know, I understand how scary it can be. And I understand and I know whenever it came to my own children, it was like, what are we going to do? Do I really want this for them? Do I really want them to learn and to, go through that situation? That may have been one part of why I decided to homeschool. There's multiple reasons why we decided to homeschool because it was a collaborative decision. between my husband and I stopped teaching before I even decided to homeschool. And then when the pandemic happened, it was like, yes, we are going to do this. Like I was already doing it. I was already teaching them. I was already creating curriculum. I was already building community. So it just was a no brainer. And when people continue to ask me, well, how long do you think you're going to do this? I said, until it doesn't make sense anymore. But for me, I don't see an end. I see us as a homeschool family because it truly has been the biggest blessing. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share these 5 steps that you need to do to start homeschooling if it is on your heart. If you have considered this and you have looked at the option of it, sometimes it can be very overwhelming. There's a lot of information out there on homeschooling. There's a lot of stigma on homeschooling. Oh, you're going to have the weird kid. Oh, I'm not qualified to educate my kid. I am not equipped to do this. What about socialization? You're going to hear it from all angles. You literally are going to hear it from people that you know and love. You're going to hear it from strangers. Some are going to have a good say, like, yeah, I can see why you would want to do that. Others are going to not have such a positive response. And as homeschool families, we have to prepare for those answers. And sometimes you can just laugh them off because sometimes they're just ridiculous. Sometimes we feel like we have to say what's on our heart. And then sometimes, we just let it go. But deep down why you want to homeschool your kids. And that number one, yes, of course, I'm going to talk about the actual things, but I want you to really search and journal. Why do you want to homeschool your kids? What benefits are going to come about it for your family? What is the outcome you see for your children and your family? And dig deep because guess what? There are going to be hard days. There are going to be days where no one's paying attention, no one is listening, or it's overwhelming. You're overstimulated. They're overstimulated. It is going to happen. What are you going to do on those hard days? And I encourage you to link up with other homeschool families, link up with me because we all have those hard days and we just want to be there to encourage each other. So really journal it out. I guess that's this is even before my 5. This is, point A, journal it out. Why do you want to homeschool? What are the benefits you're going to see? What are you going to do on those hard days? And we're going to get to some other things as well. But is this the right choice for your family? If it's on your heart. And journal it out, talk it out with your spouse. Right there, those are the 2 people that matter the most, you and your spouse. Once you guys come up with a decision, you can talk with your children, or it's just the decision that we're going to homeschool. So, what I would like to just say now is the 5 steps. Okay. So, 1 is research your state. Every single state has different requirements. Makes it a little tricky, especially for me if I'm trying to help families nationwide. However, there is a very easy site to go to. I'm sure there's multiple, but the one that I found the most helpful is hslda.org. And I'll put that in the show notes below. Okay. So on there was a spot that has a map of the United States, and you just click your state and it tells you all the requirements. There's even a short video from someone in your state to tell you the information. So you can listen to it or you can read through it. So I know for us in Georgia, we have to fill out a declaration of intent. That's pretty much it. Pretty simple. Yes, we have to teach a required amount of days. We have a required number of hours. We have required subject areas to cover. Take attendance, but no need to record it. Write progress reports, but no need to turn them in anywhere. They test every 3 years, but no need to turn them in. So these are some of the requirements in Georgia alone. And I did a whole detailed video. So if you are looking to homeschool in Georgia, reach out to me because there's a whole specific video just for Georgia. And I have clients in other states as well. So I have to know what is required in those states. Like Vermont, there's a form that needs to be completed and it's called the annual enrollment notice. So all the same concepts here. PA is a notarized affidavit or unsworn declaration. So typically there's going to be something to complete. Now, these are the three main states that I have researched because I have clients there. But every state is different. So if you want more information on Georgia, there's a specific video for that. Okay. Just reach out to me. But if you are looking for another state, right? If you are maybe in Texas and you're like, all right, Christine, I need some help, and you would like me to record a separate video for that, please reach out to me. Let me know so I can support you and your family because I want to ensure that you are taking the action, doing the research, and completing the steps that are needed for your specific state. So ultimately, every state is going to be different. But from my understanding, that no matter what, you turn in these documents and you are now considered the superintendent, the principal, the teacher. So anything that you need to create and sign for your child that's related to their educational needs, you can do that. Think of teacher ID, student ID, their graduation diploma, services, therapies, forms from the doctor, all of these things you are able to complete because you are representing your child. You are their school. And I've had a lot of question about, well, what about high school? Well, you are able to write their high school transcripts, or you are able to sign up with a school that documents all of that. So there's a lot of different things that you can definitely look into as your kids get to those levels. If you're just starting out and they're preschool, kindergarten, first grade, you've got time to figure that out. Get your feet wet with schooling first. Get your feet wet figuring out what is this going to look like. I know for me, I'm definitely a planner. I remember when I was pregnant with Ella and I was like, what are we going to do for school? Where's she going to go? What's this going to look like? What's my schedule going to look like? And my husband's like, we're just getting pregnant. She's not even here yet. But that's how my brain totally works too. It's like, what's next? And it's gotten a little bit better because it's like, it's all going to work itself out, right? As long as you have those questions in your mind, you write them down, you note them down somewhere. It's like, okay, we can always come to that whenever the time comes, or we can continue to research it a little bit at a time. But yes, that document that you complete for your child, that is their way to get their driver's license, their work permit, especially in Georgia, that declaration of intent, that is what that's used for. So anything that requires any educational enrollment for your homeschool students, my understanding, especially in Georgia, is going to be that document that you complete at the beginning of the year. But again, you guys have to research your state because every state is different. And if we're talking internationally, I really don't know too much, but I would be happy to research for you if you were looking to homeschool internationally. But this right now in the realm that I'm in is in the United States. So, number one, do your research with your state. Number two, just breathe. Take a deep breath because your child is not going to fall behind if you don't have anything set up or a plan that very first day off of school. And if you get into any of the Facebook groups, they're going to tell you deschool. So it's not whenever you go to homeschool, it's not trying to mimic the public school. My philosophy for homeschooling and home education is literally education all around us. School happens all day long. It happens in every situation. Look for those teaching moments. I talk about teaching moments all the time. How can I turn a small situation, a conversation, into a teaching moment? And it's an opportunity to learn, and it's a question that they're having. Embrace their questions, embrace their curiosity, and dive in to what they're interested in learning about. And have fun with it. I encourage you, If you do withdraw your children and then you're getting ready to homeschool, yes, we can have a plan, right? Because we don't want to just be free, right? It just doesn't want to be a free for all that first day or week or whatever that looks like until you figure it out. We want to have a set plan, and maybe I'll even come up with a similar schedule, right? That you can do for your school day. But just enjoy it. Take it easy. Let them sleep in. If they're morning people, they might still be up early, right? But if not, allow their bodies the rest that they need. Our kids need the rest. It helps them to grow, it helps them to focus, it helps them to stay on task. So if they need that extra rest, let them have it. Make breakfast together. And at this point, now you have time. You have time to show them how to cook something in the kitchen or be able to create something together or even just sit down and have breakfast together. It's an opportunity to open up the day and start having conversations with our kids. Go on a walk together. We start our day every day with a walk. We go outside and we go for a walk. And it's a great opportunity, number one, to kind of get them moving, get their minds moving. Also, we have the opportunity to talk. We take the dogs with us. So it's a great opportunity to really get outside, enjoy the fresh air, and be able to really get moving for the day. Now, if you live in a colder area and you can't go for a walk right away during certain months, throw on some brain breaks that are on YouTube channels. And there's all kinds of opportunities to move. Do some stretches, do some basic jumping jacks or push ups or some kind of movement. It's just so good for our bodies and so good for their brains to get their brains really moving and the juices flowing. Another thing is just reading together. Reading together, I truly believe, is very underestimated. The power of reading and how important it is for our kids. They're listening to our stories, our words. They're listening to and seeing the words on the page. They can hear your tone and the inflection changing. They can see punctuation. They can see capitalization, the words, the letters that come together to make a word, and then the words that come together to make a sentence, the sentence that comes together to make a paragraph, and the pages and the chapters. Like literally just reading to our kids is so valuable. And have these opportunities for them to read all over. Read a chapter book together. Maybe it's your mid afternoon break and you go outside and you snuggle up or snuggle up on the couch and you read a chapter book together. It's so good for them. And then when they're ready to read, let them read a page and then you read a page. Ask them questions. Let them interrupt and ask questions. This is all part of learning. The other thing is to practice math facts. And you can do this anywhere with anything. I talk about this a lot in all of my previous episodes, but being able to take those math facts and count outside or practice their addition problems on a chalkboard or a whiteboard or the sidewalk, or just cut a piece of paper and roll a dice and say, okay, roll this dice. How many did you get? Plus, how many more? Literally, math can be all around us and it can be fun. So allow them to have fun with their math. Here's a little insider tip. If we are going to sit down and do any book work, I cut up a sheet. They don't need to sit there and do 20 problems. They're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be frustrated. They're going to be upset, which then makes us upset and overwhelmed and frustrated. And now everyone's in a bad mood. I want none of that. I want to ensure that we have a very peaceful, calm kind of a day. And how do we do that? Well, show me if you know how to do this problem. 1, 2, maybe 3 of them. Great, you did it. Awesome. We're going to keep practicing that skill, but I don't need you to do 20 problems at one time. And a lot of this is retraining our brains, right? If we had the mindset that we got married, had kids, sent them to daycare, sent them to school. And that was our mindset. And now we're going to homeschool. It's a different mindset. We learn things in school totally differently, where it was very rote, memorize, and regurgitate. And to me, homeschooling is not that. I want them to truly understand the skill. And that happens by doing it with hands on activities, by having fun with it, by laughing, by enjoying the time together. And if they don't understand that math fact that they just did with you, great, do it together. Because clearly there's a missing step that they're not understanding, and have patience with them. And then you get to show them how to complete that problem and say, okay, great. Now show me another one. Now, do you know how to do this? And if not, just keep practicing it. They're going to get it. It's eventually going to click at some point. The other thing is really discussing what it is that your family wants to learn about. Are there specific topics that your family wants to learn about? Maybe you're going on a special trip and you're going to Italy. And it's like, well, we're going to learn about Italy then this year. Why not? And then we're going to go and experience it. Or we're going to go to the apple orchard. So let's learn about apples. Let's learn about how they grow. Let's learn about apple orchards and farms and tractors. And you can dive as deep into these subjects and topics as you want. There's a plethora of information and education all around us. The library, our phones, Google, all of these things, even our devices in our house. We can ask it a question and pop, it's going to give us an answer, right? So, and again, ask your children what they want to learn about. Ask your spouse, what is important to you while homeschooling? What are the most important aspects? And being able to talk about those aspects and being transparent and having deep conversations, because this is a team effort. Even if you will be the main person doing the education, it is definitely a team effort. We need to work together, all of us. So number 1, we said research your state. Number 2, we're going to enjoy the time. Number 3, we're going to adjust, because it will be an adjustment period. There will be moments that it's like, what did we do? What did we get ourselves into? Oh, great. This is running really smoothly. Everything's going great. Oh, nope, maybe not. Or maybe it is. So again, I just want to reiterate, you don't have to replicate the public school model. In fact, I advise against it. As a former teacher, I definitely had my own doubts. Is this how I did it in school? Should they be learning it this way? Do I need to teach it that way? But that's the whole point of everything that I've developed with EduPlay Learning, is that it is a method that takes the best of the school system of saying, okay, here is our curriculum, right? Here is the reading, arithmetic, writing, if we want them to be great spellers, like what does that look like for your family? What subjects are you going to focus on? And then how do we enjoy the time with them? So we're going to have some book work. Yes. We're going to sit down and we're going to have to work, because we do have to know these skills, but then also diving in to those subjects, the topics. Are they excited about cars? Great. Dive into that. So much science, so much. You can talk about the history of a car, like so many things that you can just really dive into. Today, for example, my son was racing cars down the hallway. I said, great, I want you to turn that into a measurement activity right now. Go get the tape measure, the yardstick, the ruler, whatever you want to use. And we're going to measure how far your cars went. And then you're going to see which one went further. So you're practicing addition, because you're going to measure and you're going to add, you're going to compare. You get to measure, right? And it's something that they are enjoying doing and just having fun with it. And just enjoy that time with them. Enjoy getting down at their level and just playing with them, truly just playing with them. And just make those memories, because learning truly is all around us. Just like I said, with those cars, He can learn. He can learn how fast the car's going. You can talk about some of the car terminology and just really giving them some additional information in addition to their reading, their writing, their math, their basic schooling. You can have fun. And they're going to say, oh, I remember when we raced those cars down the hallway and we measured, and this car went the furthest. Well, how far did it go? And you can measure it and you could talk about that. And that's something tangibly that you can take and your child will take when someone asks them, well, what did you do in school today? We raced cars down the hallway and we measured them. And this car went the furthest. Someone might say, that's not school. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It's all measurement. You would be doing the same thing. You'd be measuring things in school. It's all the same. It's just in a fun, hands-on kind of a way. All right. So number 4 is community. Making sure that you're building community around yourself, around your kids, getting connected with other homeschool families, and finding ones that fit your need. You may put it in your group and say, hey, I'm going to homeschool my kids. You never know who is going to kind of pop back out and say, I know someone that homeschools, right? Or I know of this community, or hey, there's a field trip coming up for homeschool kids, and test it out. Test out all these groups that you're getting connected with because you're going to find the ones that fit the best for you. It may be they have a similar mindset. They may have kids around the same age or kids with the same interest because our kids don't have to hang around kids their same age. Maybe they want to hang around someone that's a little older because your child's a little bit more mature and they want to play chess with that child, or they want to talk and have a different kind of a conversation than what they may have with their same age peers. So keep that in mind too. Now, the other thing is, I know that the Facebook groups can be overwhelming. So just take a moment when you get into them and just kind of just go through one at a time because it can be a lot of information. But it's good. There's a lot of good resources there for sure. You have veteran homeschool moms, maybe even second generation, third generation homeschool moms. And yes, things change, but really have some great information from these fellow homeschool moms for sure. So definitely get connected in those groups, ones that are maybe nationwide that are just like open homeschool information, much like the Educating Kids Connecting Families. So I encourage you to join that Facebook group, Educating Kids Connecting Families. There are families from all over the world in that group. And that is going to be a great group to throw out your homeschool questions and get some responses from people all over. And then there's going to be ones that are specific to your state, and there's going to be ones specific to your area. And those ones specific to your area are going to be great for field trips, getting connected, co-ops, many different opportunities. And then definitely check out other episodes here on the podcast because I've talked about getting started with homeschool. I've talked about routines and expectations, and there's definitely other information here. There are 2 interviews with homeschool moms that you guys can check out as well. So, number 5, I'm going to wrap up with curriculum. Okay. This is the final thing of the 5 steps here is really start researching what kind of curriculum you are interested in. There are a lot of different options out there. And you need to find the one that best fits your needs of your family because they're not cheap. Honestly, I've seen that many times where it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have a job just to homeschool because how do we afford this? And I understand that. It is not a cheap kind of a thing. We have to pay for the curriculum, we have to pay for the field trips. But the benefits of it are we're getting that freedom, we're getting that time, we're getting to teach our children what they actually need to learn. So look at your state. What are the minimum requirements that you have to teach in your state? Other things to look for are how do your kids learn best? If your kid learns best by doing something, having a computer-based program is probably not going to be the best fit for them. So, looking at different options that are more hands on approach. What's your preferred style? Are you more traditional or are you looking for a more modern approach? So, there are so many different curriculums to check out. I definitely encourage you to check them out. I want to share a little bit about EduPlay Learning curriculum. The curriculum that I've created is a multi-sensory approach to learning. So it's setting your children up for a lifetime of success with hands-on activities that are going to be fun and meaningful. So there's different levels and you could just join in the membership part of it, okay? The digital vault. And that membership level is all about you have the opportunity to get connected with me and I get to answer your questions and you get to access curriculum that I have digitally. So you would print it out and you would get what you need for your kids. The next level is I do have specific programs already created, ready to go. And why would mine be a little bit more? Because I'm going to send everything to you. I'm going to send all the materials you need. I'm going to send the videos that you need. And you also are going to get support from me. And that's different because if you do get a program and you have a question, who are you going to reach out to? In my curriculum, you get to reach out to me and I get to offer you guidance and support and other resources that will benefit your family, your specific family and need. And then the final program that I offer is really customized. And that is literally, we work one to one together and we find what best fits your children's needs. And we set up a plan together and say, okay, great. And you've got me right in your back pocket to say, hey, Miss Christine, I've got a question. Or I would love to see a video on this. Or they didn't understand this concept. How can I teach it differently? And that's where the customization comes in with EduPlay Learning Academy because it is truly all about how can I meet your family where you are and set your children up for success. So one final little tidbit here that I want to share is another question that I receive is accreditation. What if you're not accredited? How do I find accredited curriculums? A couple things that I've found. One, it's not necessary. Accreditation is not necessary. And one thing that I did see is it may be something that you are interested in if you plan to send them back to public school. But even then, it doesn't really matter until you get to those high school years. But then, even other sites that I have seen, they have full on high school programs and they're not accredited and they chose not to be accredited. So, those are things to really think about. I know whenever we start this journey, it's like, well, I want to make sure that it's legit. I want to make sure that I'm doing all the things right. As long as you're spending time with your kids, as long as you're teaching them reading, writing, math, the things that matter most in life, they are going to be leaps and bounds ahead because they are getting one-to-one instruction with you. And that is priceless. So if you are not 100% confident in teaching your own kids, you don't know where to start, you want guidance from an expert, an educator, and maybe you would even want love community for you and for your children, I would just love to invite you to join the Educating Kids Connecting Families Facebook group because I will be going live in there on Wednesdays and answering all of your homeschool questions and concerns. I'll also pop in throughout the month too and share a holistic health tip that I've learned, or a tip for moms, or a free educational event for your kids. So be sure to join that group because it is full of resources and I just want to be here to support you in whatever capacity that is. It may just be the free Facebook group. It may be the membership. It may be a program. It may be, Christine, I want it all. How can you help me? And I've got you covered. So feel free to check out EduPlay Learning and Miss Christine Furman on Instagram and reach out to me with any questions. Reach out to me directly right there in the DMs, and I will be sure to respond back to you. But I just want to leave you with this. You've got this. If it is on your heart to homeschool your children, you know your children best. And this is such a wonderful opportunity to slow down, enjoy the time, and make memories to last a lifetime. Thank you for listening to the Educating Kids and Connecting Families podcast. I appreciate your support and cherish each and every listener. If you found value in this episode, download it, share with a friend, or leave a review. If you're interested in even more resources for you, activities for your kids, and connection, I encourage you to join our exclusive community, Educating Kids and Connecting Families with Christine Furman on Facebook. You can find the link and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. I'm looking forward to connecting with you and supporting your family.